Good evening and welcome to the City of Glendale Civil Service Commission hearing for March 26, 2014. May I please have roll call?
Commissioner Yakubian?
Here.
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Chair Gazarian?
Here.
For the record, Commissioner Manukian will be arriving shortly and Commissioner Hatamian is absent tonight.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Minutes.
Move for approval.
Second.
Unanimous consent for those who are present. Thank you. Next item, please.
Oral communications.
I see no cards and no one approaching the podium. Thank you. Next item, please.
Recruitment and examination report.
Thank you. Ms. Yunanan.
Commission, this item is the recruitment and examination report outlining the recruitments that are currently pending. This is a note and file item, so no action is required, but staff is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any comments, commissioners? No? Thank you. Next item, please.
Eligible lists established.
Ms. Hunanian.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is our eligible lists that are established. It shows the various lists that were established from our last meeting. This is once again a note and file item, so no action is required, but staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Seeing no questions, thank you. Next item, please.
Class specification for approval, code compliance inspection series.
Thank you, Ms. Hunanian.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a newly established class specification for our code compliance inspection series. This will actually be replacing a current classification that we have for neighborhood services series. The reasons why staff is proposing to establish this series include city reorganization. There are also stricter standards for receiving federal funding that will require these changes, including utilizing the term inspector for code compliance programs. In addition, this specification incorporates newly implemented programs, including business registration certificates and administrative citations. As this position includes both GCA and GMA positions, both associations have been given an opportunity to review the specification. Staff from Community Development is here. John Brownell, our Principal Neighborhood Services Supervisor. We also have Steve Nersessian, our Human Resources Analyst, too, assigned to the Community Development Department to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Doyle? Divine, Doyle.
Doyle's the handsome. I just had a question on the education and training requirements. They have for the general classification for all of the positions that it's graduation from high school or attainment of GED or CHSPE certificate. And then it says at the bottom that a equivalent of experience, education, and or training may be substituted. Does this mean that if someone can apply and qualify for any of these positions, whether from the assistant up through the senior code compliance inspector without a high school, without graduating from high school?
The answer is that from time to time in this particular, this is Hassan Haghani. I'm Hassan Haghani, Director of Community Development, and John Brownell will correct me if I miss something or misrepresent something. But in this particular series, we sometimes have openings and we might get qualified candidates that apply with some experience in other cities. They may or may not have a high school diploma, but the qualifications and their experience other places really qualify them to start a position here in Glendale. We do not want to miss out on the opportunity to consider such applicants in the future.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? No. Very well. Move to approve?
Move to approve.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. Unanimous consent with those who are present. Thank you. Next item, please.
Class specification for approval, planning series.
Thank you. Ms. Hunanian?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a revised class specification for the planning series. This was last brought forth in 2010, where staff proposed to add 2 new classifications. One was for the senior urban designer and one was for the principal urban designer. And they are basically equivalent to the senior planner and the principal planner, respectively. At this time, staff would like to propose to add the urban designer classification, which would be at the same level at the planner as the planner classification, because the field has become more and more specialized. Similar to the last item, this specification involves both GCA and GMA classifications, so both associations have been given an opportunity to review the revised class specification. Staff is here from Community Development to answer any questions you may have. We have Alan Loomis, our principal urban designer, as well as, once again, Steve Nersessian, the Human Resources Analyst assigned to Community Development.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question again on the education and training. This is a little bit more, I should say, confusing because, again, on the overall description of the class under education and training, it indicates bachelor degree in urban planning, architecture, et cetera. And it has the same note that you can substitute equivalent experience. And Mr. Pagani very clearly explained what that means. However, as we get into the individual classes, such as planner or planning associate or planning assistant, there is no education mentioned in there. So I'm not sure whether those refer back to the overall class spec or whether when you actually issue the bullet on these, there will be an absence of education requirement for the specific classifications. Also, when we looked at the education requirement for the senior urban designer, that does plug in an education requirement, and it says it's highly desirable. So I'm assuming that means they don't have to have that degree. So again, overall, I'm very confused as to the layout of the education requirements, why it's included in some job descriptions, not in others, and what the bottom line is as far as is education required for any of these positions.
Commissioner Devine, I can answer your question. Essentially, the class specification right above the planning assistant, when we start getting into the respective classifications or positions, the education requirement is listed, education/training, which incorporates the bachelor's degree in the various areas. So that education level is required for all of the positions within the series. Then when you get into the urban designer positions, there is the desirable that's mentioned, which means that while the bachelor's degree is a requirement, the bachelor's degree in the specified areas under the urban designer is highly desirable.
Okay. And you just said while the bachelor's degree was a requirement for the entire spec, again, the note under that says an equivalent combination. So does that mean that if they don't have a bachelor's degree, that they could still get the job?
It will depend on the their background, essentially. So if they have years of experience in the field that we're looking for, that may qualify as the substitute for the education.
When you actually post the job bulletin for these positions, let's say under planner, do you post all of these requirements starting with the planning series, or will you post a, if you want just a planner, will you post just a bulletin for the planner? And if so, it will not show any education on it based on what we're approving here.
No, we would be posting all, and it would show the education as well.
Okay, that's all we have.
Thank you. Any other questions? Move to approve. Anyone?
Move to approve.
Okay. Very well. Unanimous consent with the exception of Mr. Hatamian, who is absent. Thank you. Next item, please.
Let the reflect show that Commissioner Manukian is now present. Our next item will be reports, past due employee performance evaluations.
Thank you. Ms. Hunanian?
Okay, our next item is our past due employee job performance evaluations. This report outlines how our respective departments are doing in terms of completing their performance evaluations. I can answer any questions you may have related to the report.
Any questions?
No.
Very well, thank you very much. Next item, please.
Civil Service Commission staff comments.
Any comments?
I just wanted to indicate I apologize for being late. I was testifying as an expert witness in Ontario, so by the time I got here, as you can tell, I left the court 4. So
Your expert presence is also most welcome.
Thank you.
And appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Closed session for item A, public employee discipline.
I believe this will conclude our televised portion of this evening's Civil Service Commission hearing. We will report out after our closed session, however, not on camera. We will not report out. I'm
No,
sorry.
I don't think you're going to have anything to report out
Oh, we
today.
will not have anything to report out. But if we did, we would have reported out. Yes, I don't anticipate we will have anything to report out. Have a pleasant evening. Thank you.